My friends, today we have a collection of unusual, obscure, and frankly useless facts and oddities about GoldenEye 007, and these are some you have never heard or seen before. Like, what is the six mine theory? Or why is this area, the start of the Streets stage, especially strange and noteworthy? Buckle up and tune up the useless and obscure meter, because it's time to ponder some more useless facts.
Here we go!
The six mine theory. On GoldenEye's jungle stage, the 15th stage in the game, you begin the level with being given 6 mines from the Q branch. And while speedrunners use these remote mines effectively to destroy the drones, Objective A, by throwing the mines from afar, they are not necessary to complete the jungle, as you could just shoot out the drones instead. So why are you given 6 mines? Well, here's the thing. The GoldenEye missions are presented as sort of loosely tied together throughout the story of the movie or the game. So, the St. Petersburg missions from Statue to Train are all sequential. You land in the Statue Park after receiving some intelligence briefing, and then you get captured into the archives, and you escape and pursue Ormov through the streets and depot before the grand confrontation on Train. Now, likewise, the Cuba missions are connected from Jungle to Cradle, the grand finale of the game, where you chase down Trevelyan. Start in Jungle, go into the control center, chase Trev through the caverns, and up to settling the score on Cradle. Now, here's the thing. How many mainframes do you need to destroy on Control? Well, it's exactly 6, and you get those 6 mines on Jungle. The 6 mine theory suggests that at some point in development, the connected levels were going to be even more continuous than the final product, with perhaps weapons, items, ammo, and even health being carried over from mission to mission. So you need to save those 6 mines through the jungle in order to use them on Control to destroy the mainframes. It's a nice and compelling idea, in theory, and perhaps the developers did ponder doing this at first, but ultimately decided that it might just be too difficult to play or awkward to implement. And to remedy this, they placed a stack of remote mines hidden away on the control stage to replenish your supply. The supply that may have been intended to carry over from mission to mission, but ultimately did not. Now, here's the thing. The Q branch page in the mission briefing does specifically say that the mines are for the ammo dump, though this certainly could have been added later. After all, 6 mines is a lot for this ammo dump. 1 mine does the job, or 1 grenade launcher shot from Xenia, so who knows? And it's really interesting thing to ponder if things like ammo and health carried over, how much this would affect speedrunning. We do see this implemented a little bit in Perfect Dark. If you lower the hover bike on Air Force One, you get the hover bike on Crash Site, and there's a few little continuity things like this. So maybe the Rare devs did want to implement this and just couldn't at the end of the day. One more thing I want to mention while on the jungle control continuum is the idea that this hole in the ceiling, in that corner where you get the mines, well, this has been speculated by some that this could have been the originally intended starting area of Control, but was later changed. After all, the Silver Crate room is pretty similar to the Silver Crate area on Jungle, so there's a bit of continuity there. Perhaps you had to lead Natalia into the first room from this starting point, but that got changed in development at some point as well. Who knows? Here's one that I failed to mention in my textures video, or even my Mickey Mouse graffiti Mandela effect video, so I will not fail to mention it here. On the depot stage, the speedrun strategy for 25 years now has involved turning at this point to shoot into the train shot, to lure guards out of the train into opening the train door and the large rolling door, which saves about 2.5 seconds. So for 25 years, everyone who speedruns the game has been doing this motion, performing the train shot and carrying on. But look closely, and I missed this for 25 years. This graffiti of the Rare logo on the wall right here in front of the train area, hidden in plain sight. I mean, yeah, it's kind of off to the corner, you're kind of too close to see it when doing the train shot, but it's still right here, and I just never noticed it until quite recently. I've explored tons of the graffiti on the depot stage, looking in and out, and somehow this Rare logo graffiti went missed to my eyes for years. That is truly remarkable, and as far as I know, this is the only Rare graffiti or logo hidden within any level of the game. Another thing to mention here on Depot, there's various Cyrillic text strewn throughout the stage, and on the entire game for that matter. Now, in the warehouse where the ammo dump is located, we see this text, which reads "banan" or "banana." Now, it would make sense within the story of the game for the Soviets to simply be mislabeling their warehouses as full as bananas, when in reality they're full of weapons and ammo, from an operational security point of view. But here's another very silly thought. Rare enjoyed connecting their universes through hidden references and things like the scrapped stop and swap feature. Okay, I know this is too silly to ponder, but could the warehouse have a connection to Donkey Kong 64 and his legendary banana horde? Okay, probably not, but that is indeed a funny thing to ponder. Speaking of level continuity, Surface 1 and Bunker 1 are both on Mission 2, Severnaya. And so the starting point of Bunker 1, this ventilation tower, is the same spot where you end on Surface 1. Now here's the thing. Using the classic no exits GameShark cheat, which allows us to remove the unloading zone of levels, we can gain access to this ventilation tower area on Surface 1 without the level fading out. From here, we can look around and quite clearly see that the place just looks so much bigger on Surface 1 than Bunker 1, where we actually interact with this part of the stage. Check out this screenshot showing the discrepancy in Bond's sizes between stages. This is just such a silly thing. It's never been explained, but it probably just has to do with the developers wanting to make the ventilation tower a certain size on Surface 1 for the ending, so you can easily shoot at the locks and enter, and they didn't care too much about the exact continuity of sizes. I mean, this is what the start of Bunker 1 looks like, standing and looking at an even plane, and this is what it looks like on Surface 1, thanks to the no exits GameShark code. Now that, my friends, is very strange. Here's another oddity when it comes to level transition continuity. At the end of Archives, we clearly see Bond and Natalia exit to an area where you're going to start the street stage. Fair enough. Okay, hold that thought for a second. This alley area, stick it in your mind. How does Natalia disappear on streets? That's kind of weird and that's never really been explained. I suppose we now know that Oromov's car was supposed to be this black sedan, and maybe if technology had advanced further, we could have had a cutscene after the Archives escape where Oromov snatches Natalia into the sedan and then rides off with her. Or maybe such a thing was scrapped when the developers scrapped the black car, and possibly the tank chase altogether. Either way, let's focus on this alley area, the end of Archives and the start of Streets. Archives is weird with that, even with no cheats or GameShark codes on, you can kind of clip out into the ending of the stage. Not too far, but enough to observe the outside world. We can see a couple of interesting textures. This sort of golden poster type thing, and this whole downspout texture running down the wall. But at the beginning of Streets, these are gone. Why on earth would these textures be removed on the actual level where you can get out and take a close look at it? Now that, my friends, is truly strange. My best guess is that because Streets is a larger stage, they had to cut out some textures and detail lest the stage lag too much, but these details were able to remain on Archives. Either way, that is truly unusual. Here's another weird note on these Archives windows at the end of the stage. You can actually shoot out the ones on the main floor from the top floor. It's pretty well known in GoldenEye that sometimes your shots can just kind of pass through walls and structures, but equally, sometimes this just doesn't work when it should. For example, you can't shoot Trevelyan on Cradle through buildings, even though your bullets do appear to be passing through. There's this sort of whole weird thing with how exactly the structures of the game work, especially ones with multiple levels or heights, but oftentimes your shots do not affect things on areas below you, especially when the shots are going through doors or walls. But that's not the case here on Archives, where we can clearly see we've shot out the windows below from above. In a weird quirk of the architecture of the stage, this does not work the opposite way, as shots from below simply hit the ceiling and do not pass through. Man, that is just truly strange, and certainly quite useless. Well, is it actually? Could you maybe prepare a route below from above? Shoot the window so you can have a faster escape from below? Well, from a speedrunning perspective, that would still take up too much time and not stand to gain anything, so outside of maybe some fringe challenge runs, this has got to be pretty useless. Here's a quick one I've thought about mentioning a few times, but I guess you'll see, and maybe enough time has passed by now. In the mission briefing for Silo, the Q branch tells you to use your plastiques to destroy the missile silo and to place them in the main rooms, which, as I've explored before, are all labeled with numbers 4 through 1 and the letters HACK spelling hack. So that's kind of a cool random Easter egg, and it is what it is. Now, if you shoot a plastique, or if the timer runs out on a certain difficulty, the entire level just blows up, everyone passes away, everything gets destroyed, it's unsurvivable, only with invincibility can we kind of mess around with it. So in the mission briefing, Q also adds that you should be careful with the plastiques and remember what happened to 004 in Beirut. My friends, who is 004 and what happened in Beirut? We know that Trevelyan is 006, but little is known about the other 00 agents. What seems like a sort of harmless, if not darkly humorous joke about the loss of a theoretical unnamed fellow agent has taken on even darker undertones after an actual incident in Beirut, Lebanon in the year 2020. When this incident happened, many familiar with GoldenEye recalled the strange 004 in Beirut warning, which now feels like an eerie prediction of a terrible incident that happened 23 years after the game was published. Alright, I've talked about obscure text lines in the past, but this one has got to be my favorite, because it might be the very most obscure text line in the game. On Bunker 1 00 Agent, 2 of the objectives hinge on you getting Boris to hack into this set of mainframes. Now, Boris can be pretty cagey, and if you get too far away from him, he can run in any kind of seemingly random direction. Now, in actuality, there are only a handful of paths or destinations Boris really wants to run, but one of these is outside the entire bunker. If this happens, the mission fails and you get this text. Boris has left. The programmer has escaped without activating the computer. I just love this text because you have to be borderline negligent to allow him to escape this way. He can just get into so many other corners of the stage, and the chances of him taking this path before you notice and get to stop him again feel pretty low. Now, as an addendum to this Boris ELOP situation, with the no exits Game Shark codon, you can just leave the Bunker 1, and this is what it looks like. Again, we see what seems to be a bit of a size discrepancy going on with this area being just way larger outside than expected, and it's this kind of eerie, skyless, nighttime, liminal area. But what I found very interesting is that I was actually able to get Boris to escape while I was outside here, which I've never seen before, and honestly, I don't think anyone has ever recorded footage of this before. Boris behaves pretty strangely. He doesn't despawn, which is weird. He's just outside. So here you have it. World's first footage of Boris outside the bunker on Bunker 1. Alright, this one is just ridiculous. Don't get mad at me. This is truly trite and truly pointless. On Surface 1 and 2, all the wooden cabins strewn throughout the stage look like this. The door is offset to one side, either the right or the left, and there's a few windows beside it. Pretty simple. You know, even the cabin on statue seems borrowed from here. It doesn't have a door, but it's pretty similar. So there's basically one cabin model in GoldenEye that gets mirrored right or left, and that's that. All these cabins we interact with or enter will look like this, with a door offset to one side. Or do they? For no reason at all, this one cabin in the fenced-in area of surface is unique, as its door is not offset to either side, but smack dab in the middle. The one and only symmetrical cabin. Weirdly, this cabin has absolutely no purpose. Not on Surface 1, nor 2, no camera or alarm is attached here, no objective is located here, no key or any reason to visit. You know, this is not a place of glory, no esteemed deed is commemorated here. It's a weird cabin. Even the other cabins have the cool models of vehicles that got cut from the game, and other cabins have ammo or other interesting things, but this one, like, nothing. Why is this cabin unique, yet so pointless? And even weirder is that on the leaked Xbox 360 remake version of the game, entering this cabin causes the game to crash. Even looking into it caused the game to crash for me. Apparently this has been fixed in later fan-modded variations of that version, but I mean, man, the uniqueness and pointlessness of this cabin just calls to me deeply like some Lovecraftian, chthonic void of darkness and peril. You know, it's very easy to see a silly creepypasta iceberg entry like unique cabin, true intended purpose. Very strange either way. Well, there you go, my friends, some more useless and unusual facts in GoldenEye 007. I hope that you didn't know most of these and they were at least new and novel to you all. Thank you all for watching, and a huge thanks to the Patreon supporters and channel members for your support of my work. Stay true, my friends, and I will see you in the next stream or video.